we are back with another episode. Thank you so much for joining in. Anyone that's in Indiana, all over the United States, all over the world, there's actually people in Europe listening because
that's
amazing.
Amazing.
Shout out to my mom for sending it to our family over there. And
Moms are good.
crazy story. My mom. Oh, also, by the way, you may want to know who's on the podcast today, because no one wants to hear me talk. They're like, no, who's this Noah guy? So
That's not true.
I am joined by the one, the only Eddy Shigley. Eddy,
Hello,
how are
folks.
You?
I'm doing great. It's good to join Stories at Noon.
Yes,
I'm pretty
Eddy,
excited about this.
You are one of the co-hosts on Good Days with Eddy and
That's
Charlie,
right.
which is a blowing up podcast.
Oh, thank
it's going
you.
to be out in existence, put that out there. So if you are here and you're listening to Eddy for the first time, that's impressive. 1, 2, go check out the Good Days Eddy and Charlie podcast, where they talk about ministry experience, being seasoned veterans, and they share their wisdom. And so that same wisdom hopefully will be poured out today. But speaking of which,
we'll see.
We'll see what happens. My mom shares this with some people over in Europe. My aunt, and they're involved in a church, and they're using these different podcasts to help get youth to come to their church.
That's
Build their
amazing.
youth group. Yeah. So
That's super cool.
So I just send them all the podcasts, and they just get to learn from these stories and implement different things.
I'm excited about that.
Even if no one listens except for that one person, then that's all that matters.
I'll listen.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you are on the podcast today, so you may want to hear how it goes. But Doc Shigs is what I call you.
Yes.
We grew up in the same. Well, I grew up when you were around, and then you left us. But I guess I just had to follow you, and you worked at the same church I went to church at growing up, and then you've bounced around a lot, and you've got a lot of experience.
Okay.
And so what's the basic facts that you would want to share with somebody?
Wow. Okay. So this is Stories at Noon. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'll give you a little background to the story.
Yeah. So first, tell me kind of where you're from, what you've done, and then.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm currently the director of the Kern Ministry Program at Indiana Wesleyan University.
Go Kern.
Straight out of college from Indiana Wesleyan University. I went to my home church, which is College Church. You might have an opportunity like that to go back to your home church, which is super cool. So I went back to my home church, College Church, right here on campus, and was a youth pastor there, youth and college pastor. We did some missions work in Australia, and then I was youth and college pastor at First Wesleyan Church
My church.
Beeville, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, which is your current church. And then we did some ministry down at Pine Cove Christian Camps in Tyler, Texas. Then back up to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, as I was a VP for Student Life at Oklahoma Wesleyan University. Then started a ministry called Doulos Leadership Group, which kind of basically it was a ministry to the church. So it was speaking, consulting, coaching pastors, and so that was kind of a ministry to the church and staying involved and connected with the church. We did that for about 6-7 years, and then landed in Indiana Wesleyan University, and I'm starting my 10th year here at IWU.
10 quick years.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is you have a lot of experience with
a little
church,
bit
with doing ministry,
Yep.
all those things. So
I'm an old guy. I mean, a seasoned veteran.
Seasoned veteran.
Yes, sir,
with
yeah.
seasoned stories. And that's, the podcast title is Stories at Noon.
Right.
Even though it's not noon.
Right. I was just wondering about this. 1:16 in the afternoon.
Noon somewhere.
Okay.
It's noon
yeah,
somewhere.
I like that.
Yeah, it's noon somewhere.
It's
actually it is,
afternoon in Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Exactly. But with that being said, you have hopefully some good, some bad, some funny, some horror stories from the church. And the whole point of this is for me to learn and for others to learn about the ways that you either failed or succeeded, and the ways that I can be intentional about implementing that within my ministry without having to actually do the pitfalls of it.
Great. That's good.
So what is that story that you have brought? I have no idea what it is.
Okay.
I want you just to completely blindside me. This is going to be a raw reaction. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what you're going to say right now. So what is that story for us, Doc Shigs?
Well, I tell stories. I'm a storyteller.
Yes.
And so you've heard me tell stories in our current cohort over the last 3.5 years. So you may have heard this story.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm going to tell anyway, because I think it is an avenue for young pastors to learn, or people who are new in ministry to learn. So I graduated from Indiana Wesleyan University, and I wasn't really planning to go into the ministry, and I actually wasn't graduated yet. But my pastor came to me and said, "Hey, would you do a college Bible study during the summer? We'll pay you a little bit." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." So I'm just kind of in charge of doing some college Bible studies, doing some activities and some things like that. I was working down at a factory at Hartson Kennedy down here in town. It was cabinet making business, and so I was working from 5 to 10 p.m. at night. And then I'd swing by Vogel's Donuts, get off work at 10, swing by Vogel's Donuts, pick up, several dozens of donuts, and then on Wednesday night, come over to the church, and we do a college Bible study, okay? And then we go play sand volleyball after the Bible study. And so it's a late night, it's college students. That's what they do, right? Having a great time. We organized a few events. We're having an amazing time. And that was all through May term. We had about 40, 50 college students coming and just really enjoying that. The youth pastor, though, resigned, and I didn't realize this, but the youth pastor resigned, and they weren't expecting him to resign. And so the senior pastor brought me in and said, hey, would you think about stop doing the factory job? We'd hire you full-time to do your youth and college for the summer. So this is near the end of May. And he goes, by the way, they're going to the Indiana Dunes here this weekend. Can you go? And we need help. And so I was like, I know what that's like not to have a youth pastor and how hard that is and what the struggle is. And this is my home church, so I know most of the students. Well, what I didn't know is the youth pastor was there for about 6 months. Youth group went from 85 to 20 overnight. Wow. In those 6 months.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just decimated. I didn't realize that. I wasn't really in touch with what was happening. And so I said yes, but I didn't know I was saying yes to from 85 to 20. So I show up, and there's 20 kids, basically. Well, part of this process is, I know all the kids. I know all the students. So I just start calling them and getting them back connected. And before you know it, within a couple of weeks, we're back to 85. So that was really cool. Well, I didn't really know what I was doing. Except for, you just kind of learn as you go, and we're having a blast. And I took homiletics for fun in college. And so I'm trying to preach on Wednesday nights and doing some stuff. And then by kind of end of the summer, we're running out like 100 students. I'm like, what's going on here? This is fun. So I was supposed to do my student teaching that fall. And so the plan was they had the summer using me as a buffer they could get the word out that the job's available, kind of start receiving resumes and applications and start interviewing people. Well, the senior pastor been keep me kind of let me know what was happening, that they're interviewing different people, and gets down near the end of the summer. He says, hey, we've hired somebody. Like, fantastic. Like, I start my student teaching next week. This is great. So we're going to do like a welcome on Sunday night and do kind of like a dessert fellowship. We're going to have all our adult leaders there, our student leaders there, our pastoral staff there. Hey, why don't you come and show up? I'm like, cool. I'm there. So I show up on Sunday night. I'm looking around. I know all the adult leaders, know all the student leaders, and know the pastoral staff. And so I know everybody there. It's like, well, okay, who's the person? Like, when's this person going to arrive? And the senior pastor looks at me and says, it's you.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, wait a second. Time. I literally went, time out. Okay. Remember the deal we had? I was going to do my student teaching, and I start that next week. You're supposed to have one in place. No. He's like, no, this will be cool. This will be great. We'll pay you full time. Do your student teaching. The adult leaders started talking and said, we'll help you out. Like, we'll step up the plate. We'll help you out. We'll get this thing going. And I call this my back door to ministry. Like, I wasn't planning on going to ministry. I thought I was going to teach and coach. Here I am having a blast. God's somehow using me in all of my no knowledge about ministry.
Right.
And we're seeing, students grow spiritually. We're seeing it grow numerically. And the senior pastor just felt led to offer me this job. I'm 22 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. And they offer me this job. And I sit there and go, okay. What are you supposed to do? You're put on the spot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to say? Oh, okay. And the crazy thing about this story, Noah, is I've been doing ministry ever since. So this is starting year 30. I'll tell you how old I am. Starting year 36 of doing ministry. And this is my back door into ministry. So let me go into like a fail. All right. So I'm brand new as a youth pastor. We organized an event to take our students down to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. They have a really cool Children's Museum in Indy. I thought, hey, they'll love this. And they got all these like things that to play with and interactive games and stuff. And then we're going to do a scavenger hunt at Castleton Mall. So that was kind of the event.
Is it like a... I've never been to the Children's Museum before.
Oh, yeah.
It's, like what does
super
it
cool.
consist of?
Yeah, they have all these kind of like interactive games, you know, things to figure out, kind of puzzles and not puzzles, but, you know, like types of puzzles that you got to figure out and interactive games and stuff like that. So it sounds Children's Museum, but it's all, you know, it's basically for adults too. It's like super cool. And so we take a group there and here's what shows you I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, goodness.
All right. So my whole thinking of this, because I didn't know what I was doing, was I'm the one getting paid, so I'm the one that has to do all the work. Rookie mistake.
Yeah. Right?
So I didn't get any adult leaders to go with me.
Oh, how many kids?
We had like 35 kids go.
Yikes.
All right. In Indiana at the time, all you needed was like a chauffeur's license to drive a bus. And basically a chauffeur's license was you just went down and applied. So I've never driven a bus before. I didn't get any training on driving a bus. When we basically had a school bus, a massive school bus that we just painted and put, you know, JC Body Shop on it. That's the name of the youth group. So I got no training on this bus. Didn't ask for any training. I'm like, how hard can this be? And we go on this trip down to Indianapolis. It's myself and Esther. That's it. Just the two of us.
Were you married at the time?
We were only dating at the time. Okay. And everybody gets on the bus. I didn't even get a list of all the students on the bus. So I really have no idea who's on this trip.
Oh my God.
All I did was like, I think we had about 35 kids. Okay.
You could have lost. There's still a kid in the mall somewhere. You have no
Well,
idea.
it could be. They'd be pretty old right now.
They probably would have walked back by now.
They were 13 at the time.
There's no phones at that time.
36 years old. There's no phones.
There's no way.
So they're 49. Still walking around the mall.
They're just sleeping in the back somewhere.
Exactly. So we go to the Children's Museum, and we have a great time, that sort of thing. And we have, you know, at least we had a designated meeting time to meet back at the entrance, and we all get on the bus. And by the way, I'm driving in downtown Indianapolis, and I'm hopping curbs because I have no idea how to take corners. Didn't know you needed to turn wider, you know, so I'm hopping curbs. You know, at one point I hear this kind of, what was that? And they're like, oh, Pastor Eddy, you just took out that sign. What? What sign? The one that's on the ground. That one. So
The one that says stop.
Oh yeah. So I'm jumping like these corners, these curbs, knocking down signs. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm driving this bus. It's just mass destruction in downtown Indianapolis. So we all meet in, you know, at the entrance, and we all get back on the bus. And if you know, Children's Museum's in downtown Indianapolis, and Castleton Mall is on the north side. So we drive all the way to Castleton Mall, which is about like 30 to 40 minutes. So we drive to Castleton Mall, and we're doing the scavenger hunt. And there's no cell phones during the day. And I hear over the PA system of the entire mall, Pastor Eddy Shigley, could you please return to the Children's Museum because you left 2 girls there? I'm like, what? I left kids at the Children's Museum. So they were walking around the mall. They're still at the Children's Museum 36 years later. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm like, Esther, like, kind of like watch the kids here at the mall. And I run to the bus. I'm driving this bus. Now I'm going, well, too fast in this bus, trying to get back to the Children's Museum, taking out more signs, jumping more curbs, you know, all this kind of stuff. Pick up these 2 girls. They're okay. They're safe. I got to run them back down to the Castleton Mall. And part of the weird part about this, too, is because, again, there's no cell phones. So they make this announcement over the entire intercom of Castleton Mall. We had like 10 of our church people shopping at Castleton Mall. This was on a Saturday night. It gets to Sunday morning. They're like, so did you find those 2 girls? Did everybody get back home? Like, is everybody all right? You know? And so we did get everybody home safely. The crazy part of this, you think I would learn.
Oh, gosh.
No. Later that year, we went to Kings Island amusement park. I left the same 2 girls.
No way.
Way. The same two girls I left at Kings Island.
At this point, you have to be thinking, are you doing this on purpose? Like, are you just not following? Right. You not listening?
So either I was really trying to get these two girls out of my youth group, or maybe it was them. They were just trying to leave the youth group, and we kept coming back for them.
How can we fire Eddy Shigley?
Right, exactly. I don't know what it was, but it's the same two girls. Thankfully, we're like camping at the Kings Island has like also a camp area there. We're camping there, so we literally just had to kind of hop back over to Kings Island and get them. But yeah, so I think the lesson with this is realizing that even though as a pastor, even though you're the one being paid, it is okay to get others to help you. In fact, we need help. Okay.
Yeah.
And we need help to get organized. We need help for like leading small groups. We need help in administration. We need help like to corral the kids. We need a lot of adult help to make a youth group run and to operate. And I just thought early on that, hey, I'm the one getting paid, so I'm the one that's supposed to do the work. And then it was a progression of learning, because then I just kind of got on my buddies to help out, but then they're all like college students or just out of college. And then over time, I realized, hey, I need to get parents involved. I need to get young marrieds involved. I need to get college students involved. And over time, I at least learned enough. By the time I was at First Wesleyan Church in Bartlesville, we had over 50 adults helping in our adult leadership as volunteers, which was incredible and it was awesome. And we had all the delegation that was happening. But early on, I didn't know delegation. And I didn't know that I just thought, hey, I'm the one getting paid, so I'm the one that needs to do all the work. And that's just a fallacy. That's a myth in ministry.
It reminds me of the passage that we see Paul talking about the parts of the body.
Yes.
Like, you're not gifted in the same ways as your leaders.
I shouldn't be a bus driver.
No. You shouldn't drive in general when other people are in the car.
Exactly.
But you're also, like, if your gift isn't administration, then there's no need for you to just dwell in your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's a common mistake, and it's something that I've been warned of multiple times going throughout college. And I'm thankful that I have pastors and professors that are saying, hey, no, you need to delegate. You need to include other people in what you are doing, because you're not, honestly, you could become like a Messiah complex, where you have to do all the work to save anybody, which is just in and of itself, it's horrible.
It is.
So, no, I think that's such a valuable lesson, because when you get leaders, it allows the youth group or the ministry to run without you being there. And
you're exactly right. I mean, you and I love that you brought up the point of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 in the body of Christ. And the beauty of that is, as you begin to recruit adults and they are gifted differently than you, they actually do things even better than you do in a lot of different areas. And so as you learn to, obviously you still got to train your volunteers, but then you have to give them responsibilities and give them authority of those responsibilities to actually make changes and to make it better and to do things maybe a little bit differently. Keeping you informed and things of that nature, but they take it to a whole nother level. And classic example of this, I found a guy who worked at General Motors who driven bus. He drove buses most of his life, and I never drove the bus again. He drove the bus for every trip, and things went way more smooth, and we didn't take any more signs out.
Destruction of property.
Right. So that's one very small example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to include others and delegate and learn that skill.
So you've already kind of hit on, right? We need to delegate. We need to have other leaders coming in. But other than that fact, if you could see yourself, your 22-year-old self, and you could give yourself one piece of advice that you wish you would have known before you hopped in ministry, something that I can think of, something that other people can take away from it, what would that be? Yeah,
that's a great point. Well, I can remember the very first day of work, and the office I had at the church was massive. It was huge. And I walk into my office and I bring my like 1 or 2 boxes of books and supplies, and the entire wall behind the desk was bookcases. And so I set up my little books, and it took, hardly any space on those bookshelves. And I literally sat down, and they gave me the keys to the church and keys to the youth center, and kind of said, good luck, see you in 6 months, kind of keep, I was totally like on my own to just figure it out. And so I can remember sitting at that desk, and there's nothing on the desk, and sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do now? I don't have a clue. And so I would say to my younger self, find a mentor, find somebody who is a seasoned veteran and lean into their wisdom, not just their knowledge, but into their wisdom to help navigate some of those spaces that, I didn't have a clue about. So it's not just knowledge, but it's wisdom and how to navigate some of those turbulent waters and how to make it through. I really should have been fired multiple times.
I bet.
My first 2 years of ministry. And even though they didn't really give me a mentor and here's the keys, good luck, they were at least gracious to me when I messed up, when I'm destroying property and taking out signs. The bus is, it's scarred all the way down the bus, this big old scrape or whatever. They were very gracious to me. But I think every, and not just every young pastor, one of the things I say is every pastor needs a coach, needs a mentor. As you're pouring into all these students and pouring into the adult volunteers, and as you grow, that really becomes a big part of your ministry. The student leaders and the adult leaders, that becomes your ministry, and then they're ministering to the rest of the church or the rest of the youth group. And I wish I had in those early days someone mentoring me to help me to navigate these things that I didn't have a clue on, or those turbulent waters, because I felt like I was going down the rapids. And there's many times I was thrown out of the boat, okay? And luckily, I had a life jacket on and didn't drown, because I could have easily been out of ministry very quickly. But God was watching over me and was gracious.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so excited I get to do a residency, because I have a built-in mentor that hopefully will pour into me. I can't say that for sure. But not only that,
he will.
I'll have someone there that will let me fail, but not let me be fired, kind of thing, right? Like, that's one of my biggest things is I've been in college is I don't know what to do. I know how to hop into something and just hop right in and go for it, right? Because there's already a system in place. When I'm new and there's nothing set in place, I'm just a new pastor, fresh somewhere, and my desk is clear. Where do I start? Yeah. And that's what I'm so excited about. And that's why I think a residency has a lot of value in it. And you don't get paid a whole lot, but I think there's value in it, because you're not just, it's not like a business job where you're just running numbers. You are in the business of souls. Like you're doing soul care. It's not something to mess around with. Like, oh, well, I messed that one up. Like, I hope that doesn't have a repercussion. Like, no, like the care of souls, you're always being spiritually formed, whether that's positive or negative. And so that's why I'm like, no, I'm excited for a residency, because I will have a safety net. So
I agree. And one of the things, you're way ahead of the ball game than I was in my 22-year-old self. The practical experiences you're getting here in STM, you're a current grad student. You're a grad assistant here with the current program. You're actually doing hands-on ministry. You're producing podcasts. You're on the Fusion executive team. You're organizing stuff, organizing retreats. You're organizing events. You're learning what administration looks like. You're doing hands-on, like mentoring with students that are younger than you or your same age. You've done ministry teams, so you've been to a bunch of camps already. You've been in the cabins with kids. You've done so much in terms of practical ministry experience already. You're way ahead of the ball game than I was when I was 22. But exactly what you said about the pastoral residency, that's why I'm a huge fan too. You're going to have a mentor that pours into you and is going to help launch you to greater success in ministry, which is awesome.
And I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful that you got to sit down today and share your funny story. And as you are a great storyteller, I may have to have you back on the podcast.
That sounds great. So, that'd be a blast.
Doc Shiggs, thanks for stopping by, for sharing your wisdom, for understanding how to delegate, understanding we need mentors. And for those that are listening, like, lean in, listen to this, and implement it. It's only good if you put it into practice. So Doc Shiggs, thank you so much. Listeners, stay tuned. We have more. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Noah.
Thank you.